Hey, I'm Juliann.
I'm Rue.
I'm Jake.
I'm Will.
Hi, I'm Maddie, and this is Analysis of In Cold Blood. Truman Capote was born in New Orleans on September 30th, 1924. Capote won the O. Henry Memorial Short Story Prize twice and was a member of the National Institute of Arts and Letters. He died in August 1984, shortly before his 60th birthday. In 1959, Capote learned of an unsolved quadruple murder case and decided to write about it. This led to the writing of In Cold Blood. In Holcomb, Kansas, the Clutters are mysteriously murdered with seemingly no motive. A large-scale manhunt ensues as the killers Dick Hickok and Perry Smith try to stay hidden as the authorities, led by Alvin Dewey, try to solve the bizarre case.
The subject of In Cold Blood. Truman Capote, a novelist, was born in 1924 and died during the year of 1984. In Cold Blood was published in 1966. He is very knowledgeable about the information of the 1959 murders of Holcomb, Kansas. This is the occasion of In Cold Blood. In Cold Blood took place in Holcomb, Kansas. It was about the murders of the Clutter family and the mystery of who killed them. The book was published about a year after the executions by Random House Incorporated in New York City. The audience of In Cold Blood is anyone interested in murders or mystery books, or people interested in nonfiction stories. Truman Capote's purpose of In Cold Blood is to tell the complicated, wide-roaming story of the Clutter case and the investigation along with Dick and Perry's time on the run. This is In Cold Blood's subject. In Cold Blood is about a small town, Holcomb, Kansas, and the subject is the case, investigation, and the perpetrators' time and adventure with each other before getting caught. The whole book is told in past tense and is very detailed with Truman Capote's description of events. The only part that isn't his past tense is when Perry confessed to the cops. This is In Cold Blood's tone. It is a somber and grim tone. It doesn't even feel satisfying when the killers are executed and the case is finally solved and done with.
This portion of the video will cover the characters. We're going to start with the Clutter family. Probably the easiest to do considering they're not in the book very long. There's Herb Clutter, the head of the family. His wife Bonnie, who is mentally disturbed and has some issues. As a result, she has to stay home all the time and avoid the public eye. Then there's their children, Nancy and Kenyon. There's really not much to say. There aren't that many significant details, other than the fact that Nancy has a boyfriend who was later accused of the murders, but of course he's relieved of these accusations. Other than that, there's really not much. There are just a lot of minor details given, but not much else. Alvin Dewey was an investigator responsible for the majority of western Kansas. He was appointed as the lead investigator for the Clutter case. It was so intriguing and so bizarre that he became obsessed with it. This came at the expense, however, of the relationship with his wife and kids. They were constantly worried about him as his health degraded over time. And even when it was finally solved, when it was all over, it wasn't some tremendous achievement that felt incredibly satisfying. If anything, it just left him feeling kind of disappointed and even a little empty inside. It could be seen as an empty feeling considering he recalled a memory of walking through a graveyard and meeting a friend of one of the Clutters. It was a very depressing memory. It was just full of emptiness in a way. It could be seen as just nothingness. It was unsatisfying. Perry Smith had a rough childhood. He lacked any solid relationships with his parents, or foster parents, or his siblings, or at least sibling. He really has been called a good person by some and evil by others. But whether or not either of those are true, what really matters is that he killed people. He killed innocent people who didn't deserve it and who he didn't have to kill. He's still talked about today for being such an interesting character and for being so complex and bizarre. And he has yet to really be determined what he was like, whether or not he was kind or if he was evil. Dick Hickok didn't have a bad childhood. He wasn't poor, he had a good relationship with his parents, and he was a good student in school. He was overall, he seemed like a pretty good guy, but he had some serious mental issues. The most obvious of which was sociopathy. With sociopathy comes the inability to form emotional bonds with people. So, Dick couldn't really form bonds with anyone. Not women, not his family, not even Perry, the person he killed the Clutters with. It simply wasn't possible for him. He couldn't feel empathy for people, and he would exploit them in any way he could. As long as he had something to gain, he would, befriend someone. It didn't matter what happened to the other person. He wrote bad checks while trying to evade the police and left his parents with all the debt. He just didn't care about them. As long as it benefited him, why should he? He also exploited a girl in Mexico who he promised to marry, even though he obviously didn't and didn't intend to. He even tried to throw Perry under the bus when they were caught. While they were in prison, he said that Perry killed all 4 of the Clutters, when it's very possible that they both killed them. This shows that Dick overall just doesn't care. He's a sociopath, and he'll take advantage of anyone for any reason, even Perry.
In Truman Capote's book, In Cold Blood, he uses several examples of rhetorical strategies to add diversity to his novel and let his readers experience the dark and evil ways of Dick and Perry. He uses foreshadowing of the Clutters' death to create suspense and mystery for the readers. He also uses similes to spark the reader's imagination and ways of helping them view what actually is happening while comparing two unlike things, such as like the waters of the river, like the motors on the highway, and like the yellow train streaking down the Santa Fe tracks. Drama in the shape of exceptional happenings had never stopped there. Capote uses visual imagery to allow the readers to get a visual representation of how the killer seemed to appear. For example, blurred bird, orange-eyed, red faint, a tiger snarled upon his left biceps, a spitting snake coiled around a dagger, slithered down his arms, and elsewhere skulls gleamed, a tombstone loomed, a chrysanthemum flourished. Truman Capote uses the yellow parrot in Perry's dreams as a symbol for his desire to escape from his awful life. There's a bit of irony in that Dick comes off to the reader as a very smart, calculated person, but after the murders he doesn't know what to do and is very impulsive in his actions.
It's pretty.
This is the setting of In Cold Blood. In Cold Blood starts out in Holcomb, Kansas at the Clutter family household where Dick and Perry are on the way to brutally murder the Clutter family of 5. Then the setting follows Dick and Perry on their adventure across the United States and eventually Mexico for a little while. This adventure of Dick and Perry ends with them back in Kansas and being caught by Dewey and his workforce.